There's Frieren Spin-Offs, like official ones, spin-off manga telling everything from Himmel's youth through to Frieren trying to be a chef, which actually that happens twice. Like out of every single story in the world that you could do, there are 2 separate spin-off manga about Frieren trying to cook, which isn't a lot, but I guess it's weird that it happened twice. There's also a fully animated spin-off too, one that's only been sporadically subtitled, and I barely see any conversation about these lovely little side things, so I'm gonna talk about it. Anyway, these are the Frieren spin-offs, and for the most part, they're pretty good. So while the Frieren manga is on hiatus and the anime is still like a couple of weeks away, there's these little spin-offs to keep us busy in the meantime. The mini anime is one thing, but there's been a ton of Frieren spin-off manga too. These were collected in an official anthology. They are more of a mixed bag. We'll start with my favourite, Frieren's Kitchen Nightmares. It's Frieren in the kitchen. You remember that scene where Frieren cooked a steak? Yeah, it's that. It's the bit before Stark's birthday. If that scene is Star Wars, then this is the less than necessary Rogue One. Something narratively jammed into the existing story. Actually, no, it's nothing like that. That analogy doesn't work, since unlike all Star Wars made since the millennium, this manga is actually fun. Frieren is a chef, so she wants to cook the specific recipe for Stark, but keeps wondering if it would ruin the integrity of a recipe entirely if she were to use magic for this step. Use a little magic for that step. She'll read a step in a recipe, then she's got a spell for that, which does a bad thing. It's not too substantial, but I think it does a good job of capturing Frieren, weighing the meaning of doing something by hand or magic, and is there a difference if the magic is so integral to you? Losing track of time. I'm glad that I read this one. Since these are by different artists, there's a couple of things that's a bit different from chapter to chapter. One is how well it captures the characters, the feel, their motivations, and the other is the art, because each artist brings their own flavour. It's more of a gag manga, so it's quite expressive. I think it does capture the character stuff very well, though. It feels like the characters, their motivations and concerns are pretty well represented here. Part of that might be that it's actually set in an incredibly specific time to slot something in. This would have ruined the flow of the story at this point in the actual series, but it does work really well here. Chef Frieren, I would 100% read as a main series, by the way. Maybe that can be the follow-up, 100 years after this party's adventure ends. Frieren sets up a stall to cook all those dishes that only she remembers. Or maybe she just introduces fast food, cooking, scale, and efficiency to those giant burgers. She'd be rich. This one is young Himmel. It's like Frieren babies. It's set in a sweet wraparound of Heiter telling young Fern a story. An exaggerated story, maybe, but I like this wraparound. It lets you not worry about how well it fits into canon. It's going to include more context on some of the younger Himmel bits and pieces that we learn, but it's a tall tale, and it's one of the longer tall tales. It's actually kind of the bulk of this little spin-off manga anthology. A nice enough tall tale where this duo fight off a monster, and we get to see on a personal level how Heiter has always been inspired by Himmel. It takes some throwaway mentions and little details and fleshes a fuller story out of them. It's quite a sweet little origin for Himmel and Heiter's friendship. It's got the better action out of all of these, just not as much humour. The spin-offs are by different artists, so we can't expect them to push characters forward. It would be pretty weird if they made character changes which just never come up in the actual manga. But this one does take that bond that we knew was there and it tries to more clearly define it. Art-wise, it has moments where it can feel like the characters aren't as aged down as they maybe could be, where the designs are slightly off. This panel is a younger Heiter, but I'm beginning to wonder if a certain four-eyed mage didn't have his clones around for way longer than I thought. It's probably just down to a similar design in the first place, and out of the anthology manga, it's the only one that even attempts a Himmel action scene, let alone pulls one off. The big drawback for me is I feel like the wraparound mechanic could have been used in a more interesting way, but it's one that could get revisited. If they want to keep making original content outside of the manga, making it a story being told might be a strong way to let it expand things without getting too tied up. A tale of the hero's party being told could be a wraparound for a whole standalone series, really. Okay, so this one is probably the best known. The cute mini anime. It had subs on YouTube put up sometimes. Not every episode, unfortunately. So these are all under a couple of minutes long. It's not the most substantial bit of content. There's less here than a single episode, and the manga anthology is definitely a deeper pool. But if we're being complete, the mini anime is probably the flashiest out of these. I mean, there's moving images for me to edit for this video. You know, that is a plus. That is probably the easiest to access internationally right now, which never hurts. It's a shame they don't all have official subs yet, though. So, the episodes so far follow either the current party or the old one. And there's one with Himmel and Land, who are just the cutest in this art style. It's a chibi anime, smaller, cuter versions of the characters, you know, but still recognizable, and they get into small little scrapes. Each mini anime deals with one spell, usually magic, to do something simple. It's a nice premise, and I think it shows how the original pitch for Frieren being more comedy-based could have worked. These are very simple. They're between a minute or two long, we see a spell, there's a gag, the end. But there's a lot more charm here than just one gag. Like, let's look at Little Eisen. He barely changed, he looks so much fun. There's still similar music, which is fantastic, even if it's smaller scale. And most of these are just one joke, a cute thing happens. And I guess the wider franchise, that's probably why I like this so much, is because of all this. If this weren't around and it was just this mini anime, this was the only show. I mean, I don't want to say I wouldn't like that. I like a lot of nonsense. My bar is exceptionally low. But maybe if the real series didn't exist, I wouldn't like it as much. Or probably watch it, let's be honest. But there's some really good stuff here. There's the spell that ruins human relationships, as Eisen puts it, which is magic to say what you're thinking. Frieren decides to try it on Himmel, but his only thoughts are about his own handsomeness. And then there's the spell to remove alcohol from drinks without changing anything else about them, which I'm going to have to side with Heiter on this one. It seems pointless. There's nice character bits in it too, like the first time that Stark appears, he's grinding again. Even in the chibi spin-off form, you can't get away from that. That is just the overall way that Side is written in this. It just kills me. From his gambling opponents being naturally stronger and overpowering a luck spell, to inexplicably becoming a traveling salesman and just forgetting to charge anyone. That's a classic day one traveling salesman mistake. Stark being used as a guinea pig frequently. It even has maybe the funniest evolution of a gag the main series does constantly, with Frieren and the Mimics. So it's in an episode where they revisit the spell to increase luck. The second time we look at a spell to increase luck. Frieren is facing 3 chests, and they try the spell out since it's almost definitely going to be Mimics. And the luck spell works, at first. So Frieren demonstrates complete gambler's logic, hitting a jackpot, a bigger jackpot, and deciding you should just turn the stake up and win again. It already happened once, why wouldn't it just keep paying off? The pacing on the gag before the inevitable payoff is perfect for this art style, and it takes what's often a more repetitive joke and actually escalates it. Something about the character designs and Frieren pushing her luck actually made me laugh at a joke that's fairly old to me at this point. Another absolute favourite is where they can hear the fish talk, and they're like just disturbed, like it was a bad idea. Let's just leave it there and never speak of it again. But I guess what I'm saying is these aren't super complicated. I don't have a criteria for grading these. I'm not making a tier list and putting them all in. But every time I put the next one on, it gets a quick laugh. I declare it my favourite in my notes for that video. And then, what's that? It's Himmel and Land and they're just hanging out. That's the best one now. And so on every time. There's one that's just straight up product placement. There's this bottle that is magicked up from the real world or something. I don't know, just go with it. That makes anything taste amazing. And it's an ad. It's very, very clearly an ad. It's always kind of fun seeing these kind of oddities from a series though. This particular ad sees the whole party going completely dungeon meshy and wanting to eat a dragon. So the art style needs discussing really. At a glance, not in motion, these can look quite off. I used to see screens of these and think they looked a little bland, a bit like generic chibi art. In action, moving around, they work a little better. The characters manage to be expressive without that many drawings, and the style just suits the humor. Obviously, these little versions of the characters have considerably bigger acting ranges than we tend to see in the Frieren anime, because it's a comedy and the chibi style needs bigger emotions. But the voices and the smaller expressions in places help to ground them in the main show still. The art style in general has made me want a Zelda-style Frieren, specifically that Link's Awakening remake. Or I don't know, these little cutouts would suit a little RPG game, if there's ever a game beyond the gacha tie-ins. These are canon to me. These are completely canon to me. These are more canon than like half the actual stuff. Like little heiters, those for drinks. Little Frieren, little Ganken, little Ubel there. This is what's canon. The other stuff, that's the spin-off. The next anthology is a story based on Himmel's diary. It's something that he wrote down in a lengthy record of a legendary journey. But this slice of the diary is again, it's about cooking. It's Frieren trying to cook again. So this one is a framing device of Frieren reading Himmel's old travel log, a wraparound that allows for a lot of interesting stuff in this being Himmel's recollection, and not the actual events as they happened. But it might not be used to the biggest effect here. So Himmel is annoyed, or I don't know, I find this drawing funny. Is this annoyed? I feel like I've forgotten what emotions look like staring at this for too long. Anyway, Frieren isn't helping with chores. She has to take a turn cooking. That panel aside, that's what it's about. About Frieren trying to make a curry and making people hairy by mistake. Just can't figure it out. It's another one where it's Frieren failing to cook. These two are quite close. I find what Frieren in the kitchen does with it a little more fun than this one. But this story is definitely a lot more sentimental. Story-wise, this is different. It doesn't really use the fact that it's a recollection that much, that it's Himmel who is writing. I feel like there was more space to do creative stuff with that as a thing. I mean, even having like Frieren under the Spy Family and your shoujo filter would have worked, because that's how Himmel's picturing her in his recollection. But no, I mean, there are some fun Frieren face drawings in here. It's just not really a whole thing. There's not to mention some great attention to detail with the art. The kind of touches that come from a really warm place. I'm fond of the panel of Frieren turning her master into a frog, just because all the details match. It would have been very easy to screw up the earrings or something here. It's got a different style, especially with the faces. I think this is one of the spin-off manga which feels more like someone's unique interpretation of the designs. Then there's some fantastic bits of dialogue in here. It's a comfortable read about Frieren preferring to solve problems with magic. Nothing too crazy, but some fun gags, and a lot of it is drawn from the world pretty well. It's more basic than some of the others, but nice for a slice of life story. Reading these, it's easy to see where this could go. We could get loads of slice of life stories out of the original party without pushing the plot forward at all. Not all of the spin-off manga is a wraparound, not quite real story. This one is just something that's actually happening. Present day, no stories, no memories, no logs, and for once, Frieren isn't cooking. They ordered him. So it's the hero's party and they're on their way home. It's like a month after the Demon King got defeated and they're in a dungeon. The requests for help never stop flowing in, apparently. This one has a lot going on. While the others are these slice of life things, this Detour is a much bigger story. Himmel wants to fulfill a couple's request. They used to be adventurers until they took an arrow, until they got married and old. They had a kid and they settled down. But they want to show him a picture of them as adventurers to show how things used to be, which sadly got lost in a dungeon. It's a nice setup, plus it's cool for Himmel to know it isn't entirely wrong to try and pick up girls in a dungeon. At least, these two made it work. I guess one's not an immortal though. Shame. The dungeon mainly gets derailed when Frieren finds a chest. There's a 1% chance it has a grimoire in it, and it hits. Frieren wins the jackpot. There's some cute parts, and then the dungeon kind of escalates. There's chest after chest after chest that we find, and grimoires inside, which include a spell for making ice syrup, which is a pretty nice prize. Like all gambling addicts though, Frieren isn't happy with her jackpot and keeps pushing it. Eventually, we reached the boss fight of the dungeon, a real boss fight for Frieren. It's not the Demon King, it's not any kind of demon, but this, a big, giant temptation. And of course she ignores all strategy, jumps straight inside, which turns out was exactly right. She could find the goods inside without destroying anything. It's from a conversation earlier about why Frieren uses her method for dealing with mimics, since the test for if it's real or not destroys what's inside. For me, it's the kicker here, the voiceover at the end that she's the mage who has destroyed the most mimics by falling for the most of them. It's this nice little parody of the prodigy speech that we hear earlier, which is really Frieren's arch nemesis. These guys are the one she actually deals with more often. As an idea for a side story, take the ongoing joke and then just completely blow it up. It's a pretty good one. I love when it's set, how it slots in after the main adventure. There's a nice chat about the nature of elves and their obsession on specific goals. This one doesn't attempt to wrap around for coaching the story as a fairy tale either. It just slots something into a relatively quieter period. Everyone feels in character, and frankly it's the most fun we could have with the mimic gag. It even has some lovely character moments with the adventurer couple lingering in everyone's thoughts. This is a side story. I think it could easily slot into the actual story the easiest though. You could have tons of smaller adventures with the original party like this, and since this one provides a parallel, there was a chance for adventure to turn into a life together. There's something quite nice about it, the Himmel story. Okay, does this count? It's an educational video for the Hong Kong Observatory. I don't have anything at all to say about this, but it's cool that it exists, and I'm talking Frieren side content. Let's just acknowledge that this is a pretty funny thing to be out there in the world. In the final spin-off manga, Frieren has suddenly decided to learn more about humans through the kendama, through a toy. This one is set during her travels with Fern, and it's not a wraparound or anything. It's another one where it's just a thing that actually happened once. So Frieren plays with the toy, and I can't say too much about this because it's quite straightforward. There's not a whole lot to tell you, but it gave me maybe my biggest laugh in all of this. This little rule of threes joke. So she plays with the toy, it smashes the window. It's this kind of dumb slapstick. It's something about the paneling, just this specific drawing just absolutely killed me. And it was the timing. And then it's fixed and immediately smashed again. I can't over-explain a gag, but it really, really did get me. Something about the vacant expressions. They explain the extremely basic methodology behind the toy to Frieren, and then she smashes Stark's face in. I gotta say, the title is Frieren Learning About Humans. It has the potential to be about these grand emotional themes, and then it's just page after page of her repeatedly smashing things with a children's toy. I love it. And each time does escalate the humor. It's not just repetition of the same old gag. It was like 1 a.m. the first time I read this, so I was maybe a couple of beers deep. Maybe that contributed. But I specifically have in my notes just how funny this was. This one gag is pretty much half of my notes for this entire video. I'll cut the section comparing it to Dante's Inferno, but it was a good gag. So this feels like the lightest one, but then we get this Himmel flashback right after the gags to being imprisoned by one of the 7 sages of destruction, and Himmel breaking Frieren out of a moat by showing her that anything is possible. It's just a little scene, but what I wish we'd see animated one day. It's a shame this stuff probably won't be. Later she figures out how to use the toy with magic, which is kind of cheating, but it ends as she wants to try a ton of other toys, and I hope all of them just smash that same window over and over again. The art in this one is absolutely on point. Some of the best sulking faces for everyone. Weirdly, I feel like Fern is a tad cuter than normal, but that might just be, again, the 2 a.m. and the beers. And it does serve the story. A completely comedic story can have wilder faces. So I guess one of the central themes in these is Frieren tries X activity that's normal to most people but she doesn't do. And that might be because most of them are more slice of life, smaller stakes, a side story, excluding the bit with the Sage of Destruction, that was suitably epic. Frieren began life as a more comedic manga, and I think it shows how this stuff is kind of ingrained in the DNA. The world has great potential for this funnier side stuff, even if they go to the what if Frieren make lunch well a bit too often. Ultimately, stories like these wouldn't work on their own without all that positivity built towards the characters. You need to want to wallow in the world a little bit first. Being able to support such a variety of side stuff that is testament to how well drawn the core cast of Frieren is. Hey, I've been Comfy Lilin. Thanks for watching. I've got some more similar videos coming soon. So sub if you'd like to see these. I think it does help. Alright, cheers.